Hello, everyone. I'm Shirley Stassi, and welcome today for the Part 2 Myofascial Release. I'm glad to see each of you this afternoon, and I'm hoping that you've had the opportunity to get a foam roller, find a tennis ball, or a lacrosse ball. So before we get started this afternoon, remembering that myofascial release is that manual therapy that will allow us to release muscle tension throughout our bodies. And there are so many benefits when you are doing myofascial release, is that it will improve your flexibility. And that's what we're aiming for, because that range of motion is so important in all we do. And with that pressure against the muscle tissue, that fascia, it will squeeze out a lot of those waste products, such as the lymph node fluids. Thus, what will occur is that the water that you take in, your liquids, and the nutrients that you take in will be able to go into the muscles a little bit more effectively. So a few things before we get started this afternoon is that I want you to remember that when you continue to roll on your own, you foam roll according to your own individual needs. And that's very important so that you can once again build that mind-body connection, and you know what areas of the body are going to be of concern for you. When we roll, whether it be today or whether it be you continue on tomorrow, I want you to roll in an exploratory fashion. And so that means that you are always, feeling and wondering, oh, what did I find here in my muscle today? Oh, that's a new little knot. That's a trigger point. So I'm going to stay here and apply light pressure. So, explore while you are foam rolling today. The important thing is I want you to remember to always think of your breath, breathing consistently so that oxygen can go to every cell of the body. As we begin to foam roll, never roll upon any of your joints, your elbows, your knees, your shoulders. You want to avoid those areas of the body. And we also want to minimize and do not even roll onto the lower back area. And if we recall the 1, 2, 3 and the ABC of foam rolling, when we foam roll, number 1, maybe you're choosing one muscle group for 1 minute. And point 2, maybe you take that muscle group, for example, the calf area, and divide it into 2 zones. And you'll go and explore there to see where there may be some trigger points or some sensitivity. And that third point of the 1, 2, 3 is we want to continue to roll. We want to span all areas of that muscle. And then afterwards, make sure that we stretch. And I've also mentioned the ABC of myofascial release. And this is to actively, we're trying to work and roll from the feet on up. And then the B portion is bountiful. We want it to be reoccurring all the time for better health. And then that C portion, consistency. You want to make sure you remain consistent in your myofascial release. So we are going to begin this afternoon's practice. And before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment and concentrate on your breath. I want you to relax, and I'm going to begin with some short postures for just getting the body into that zone for foam rolling and a little bit of warm-up. So I'm going to have you stand up. I'd like for you to place your hands just down by your sides and your feet no further than hip-width apart. And we're going to start out with what is called some sunflowers. And this will allow you to heat build through the lungs and to also get the legs better circulation to go through, and then the arms. Starting out with the arms out to the side. And we're going to bend the knees, and I'm going to ask you to take those arms as if you're scooping up some of the earth And then you're going to bend the knees again, and then inhale up to the sky. And this is the movement. So you're scooping up some to the earth, and then you're inhaling up in the sky. And start calming through your mind, and then I want you to link your breath. You flow in and flow out. Sunflowers, scooping up some of the earth, exhaling, inhaling. And we'll do a few more of these sunflowers. Just getting the body to relax and getting into that foam rolling zone. And then coming down to center. Taking the feet parallel to one another. Comfortable with the arms. We're going to extend those arms up overhead. Your palms may touch, your thumbs may cross, and slightly bend at the elbow. And I want you to sway side to side. Just feel that nice stretch beginning through the side torsos. And now, once again, drawing your attention to the breath. How about exhaling to the right as you tilt? Inhaling to the left. So link your breath with this movement. Feeling that stretch through the side torsos. Let's pause over toward the left side. Dropping that left arm down. Walking those fingertips a little further down. Feel that right arm up overhead, stretching there. Staying relaxed. And now lifting up that left arm. Let's go ahead and do the same thing upon the right side. Feeling that stretch, dropping the right arm down. Just pausing there for this moment. Staying relaxed. And now returning to center. I'm going to have you just reach up for just this moment, extending the body long. And then go ahead and lower them down by your sides. This final heat building warm-up exercise, you're going to go ahead and put your palms up. You're going to inhale with the reverse swan dive. And then I'd like for you to exhale, flip your palms over, and soften through your knees. Drop the arms, drop your head, and then slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Take your time. We just get circulation to go through the spine, the synovial fluids. Reverse swan dive on up. Inhaling, exhaling, swan dive on down. Bend the knees, dropping the arms, dropping the head. And then slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Let the head be the last to arrive. And then how about one more? Reverse swan dive on up. Exhale, swan dive on down. Bend those knees. Let the arms hang down. Let the head hang down. And then slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Staying relaxed but alert. And then I would like for you, if you have your lacrosse ball or your tennis ball, to just place it on the ground. And I'm just going to spend just a few moments here because reflexology plays a key. And as you know, the bottom of our feet have a number of areas which respond to the internal organs of our bodies. So I'm going to have you place that ball underneath your right foot. And here is that mind-body connection once again. Apply light pressure by the arches of your right foot. And if it's a little sore, that's your tender spot. And when we aim for that arch of the foot, we are activating the stomach, the spleen, massaging it, responding to that particular area. And now let's move that ball to the perimeter, to the outside. And this is where we get some feeling maybe through the back, your backs, your shoulders. And now position that ball toward the heel. And once again, this will focus more on the sciatic nerves. And then go ahead and take it anywhere you'd like around your foot. I'm not going to say much more, but I just want you to be in touch with that mind-body connection to the bottom of the foot. And let's just go ahead and just transfer that ball to the other side. The perimeter, once again, gets the backside, the shoulders, by the arches of the foot. Awakens your stomach muscles, the spleen, the liver. And then toward the back of the heel, the sciatic nerves. And remembering that self-myofascial relief is not only with a foam roller, but I'm using a lacrosse ball. I get it underneath my toes as well too, because it does attack your sinuses, relieve some of the tension there. And if it feels extra good somewhere along here, go ahead and spend some time there. Then as you're ready, let's go ahead and position ourselves and prepare for today's practice of foam rolling. And keep in mind as we begin foam rolling that you will more than likely only foam roll on 3 to 5 days, but maybe only spend 5 minutes foam rolling. It's all a matter of individual needs. And we're going to start out with the Achilles tendon, which is the muscles and the tendons that are all back in the lower part of the calf muscle. We have to be very gentle. We won't be here that long, but I'm just going to demonstrate so that you will know if you have soreness there, this is where you're going to want to place the pressure. And so you could do 1 foot at a time. I'll go ahead and focus on my left foot. The 3 points of contact, the tissue that I'm aiming for, then on my hands for balance. And I'm going to do 1 leg at a time. And as I do so, I'm just going to do a stroking motion, sine motion, forward and backward. It doesn't have to be real long and lengthy. It could be slow and controlled. And I just want you to feel what you may be feeling there. And keep it to that lower area. Usually 1 minute should be sufficient if this is the area of focus that you are wanting to massage out. And think of it as far as spanning it, as you see that my motion as I go back and forth, going side, side. We're going to go ahead and just switch to the other side. And if you're not feeling enough pressure here, but we want to go lightly on these Achilles tendons just to loosen them up, because it does connect to the calf muscles, which we're going to eventually work on our ways to. So just inhaling and exhaling and, being relaxed and making sure that you're feeling, concentrating. If you find any particular knots there that you may discover, just spend some time and just sit still for just a moment and just allow that pressure to go right up against that tissue. And once again, if you may have wrist concerns, because we are putting a little bit of weight upon our wrist, you may just need to just stop a bit and just allow the wrist to relax and then return. So you'll feel that a lot during the varied positions that we'll go into. I'm going to go ahead and return to my other leg, and we're going to continue on as we move up the body. I'm going to get my gastrosoleus, my calf muscle. And in doing so, you have to reposition. I'm going to half my calf muscle in the 2 different sections. I'm going to go to the lower part, gastrocnemius, the soleus. And just span it side to side as well too. And you may have never discovered, wow, I'm feeling something in there. It's kind of tight. If it is, just kind of hang out there for just a moment. But stay relaxed. Then once you've done both sections, take a longer stroke if you may, and just roll down. So I'm picking up my body to get my lower calves. Another alternative, if you have wrist concerns, I just fist up my hands like a ball, and then I will lift up. That gives me a little bit more pressure upon the calf muscles. You're staying relaxed here and reminding you that you can self-myofascial release anywhere, any place, and any time. I'm going to go ahead now and switch to the other side. Take a little bit, half of that calf muscle, and work my way. Just feeling around, going to a side motion as well. And remembering, take the time to explore that particular muscle. You may discover some knots as well too. You continue with that breath, staying relaxed. I'm going to go to the upper part of this calf muscle now. And once again, it is a sawing motion. If you want a little bit more pressure, this is a medium foam roll density. Say I wanted a little bit more pressure on this calf here, I'll just go ahead and I'll stack my other foot, and then I'll continue to roll. And you notice that I have lifted up my body as well too. So this is like the finishing touch. When you're foam rolling, you've half that muscle in two. You've explored, you've maybe found some knots, maybe not. Now I have a fuller stroke. And just be present in every muscle group that you are massaging. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And reminding you to not roll upon any of the joints. And now I'm going to go ahead and do both at the same time. Might have to walk back just a bit, or I could go ahead and just bend my knees. So I have now a longer stroke. We have massage down through the Achilles. I've broken my calf muscles into two different zones, and now I'm doing my finishing touches to foam roll that entire part of the leg. And by all means, if you feel so good and doing the calf muscles, continue to remain there. And this is what self-myofascial release is. You have full autonomy. And now I'm going to be focusing on the hamstrings, the muscles in the back of the quads. And so, once again, you could do a single leg at a time, or you could do both legs at a time. I'm going to go ahead and position myself. But when we get into the hamstrings, we're only going to want to roll from above the knee to the seat bones. Do not roll onto the seat bones. We're trying to get this entire hamstring behind the knee, above, and then to that seat bone. And so once again, I'm going to start out by just halving this hamstring on the left, drawing attention to what I may be feeling, what you may be feeling here. So breathe into those tight spots. Take a minute to explore. I'm going to do the upper part of that hamstring. So when you're exploring, you can see that I'm shifting side to side. I'm scanning across that hamstring as well too. And then I'll continue on. As I feel better about this particular hamstring, I'll go ahead and lengthen my stroke, that sawing motion. And once again, if you want to stay here a little bit longer, do so. The sensitivity is all by individual. I'm going to go ahead and switch legs over to my right side. Once again, I'm just going to do the lower part of that hamstring from behind the knee and halfway up. And I'm exploring once again, and I'm searching and I'm feeling to see what I may be finding, if anything. If not, I'm still massaging. I'm feeding nutrients because I'm allowing the fascia to be released, building its pliability. Just this motion alone. And then as I move up to the upper portion of the hamstring. So once again, if you feel a little bit more pressure upon your hands, you just take a little break. But staying relaxed as you foam roll. And now I'm going to go ahead and do both legs at the same time. So I could travel with my hands to get that sawing motion. Once again, avoid rolling on any type of joints. And you may stay here if you prefer. 1 minute is more efficient time frame on any particular area. It's better to do it frequently during the daytime rather than spend an hour trying to get all areas. Small bouts of self-myofascial release are more beneficial. I'm going to draw your attention to the ridge roller. And once again, this one will have nodules. If you're wanting a little bit more pressure, if you notice it's not foam in the middle, but it is a hard type of PVC plastic. But the nodules on this particular foam roller represent, the stroking of a hand, the poking of the fingers, and they all, once again, apply pressure as you're foam rolling. We're going to continue on and move into that IT band. And if you're unsure, the iliotibial band, it is the band, the taut band, that travels all the way down our sides of the body. So if you're a cyclist, you do a lot of motion with your feet, you're a dancer, you're a golfer, these bands here get really tight. And so you may feel a little bit more sensitivity, but in order to find it, there are variations of how we're going to go ahead and foam roll. Once again, we're going to stay off of the knee, but we are going to focus on the knee, the side of the knee, all the way up to the hip bones. We're going to avoid the knee. We're going to avoid the hip bones. So this area is what we will be foam rolling. And so in order to get there, looking at my body position, staying neutral spine, I'm going to go ahead and take my foam roller. One hand is beyond it. And then I'm going to position it below my hip. So the best way to do this would be to take the left right over the right for balance. And then once again, I'm going to break this down, and I'm going to do the upper portion of that IT band, and then I'll travel toward the knee. So for balance, you may feel more comfortable putting your forearm on down, and that's my point of contact. So I'm just going to, it's a very small range of motion, and you need to relax and be real cautious to what you may be feeling here. And if you feel a little knot there, which I'm feeling, you can just kind of sit there and let it ride through. And I'm going to inch my way over it and then pause for just a moment. If you want to lift up a little higher. And the great thing, because you have full autonomy, if this is too much pressure for your IT band for you, lift up and only put the amount of pressure that you can tolerate. So I'm going to go ahead and do the lower portion of my right T-band, IT band. Just kind of breathe it through. Once again, we're looking for and feeling things that may be along that band. And then as you're ready, continue on to roll all the way down, all the way up. So for those of you who would like a little bit more tension up against that T-band, you may stack your feet and then travel with your hands and then roll. But you need to relax that muscle. You're going to feel different things may going on with that IT band, but make sure you proceed gently on that. I feel most comfortable because I can control the amount of pressure on my IT band. Continue to breathe, and if you're feeling a little bit more pain or sensitivity, just hold it for a moment. Continue that breath. And remember, it's at the side of your leg, not on top yet, and not behind. And now let's just go ahead and switch sides. So as we switch sides with this band, make sure you feel balanced. Placing that right foot on top, below the hip bone. And then I'm going to go ahead and just, put my forearm down, and the pressure will be along just my elbow. And that referred pain, say for example, although I am massaging my IT band, maybe my elbows, because of the weight that I'm placing upon it, is of concern, or maybe you feel something in your shoulder. You can extend up your posture. Your head is still the extension of your spine, but I'm still trying to roll, so you have to reposition so that you can still aim for that IT band, but you can also continue the oxygen or the breathing pattern, and then continue to attack that upper part of your IT band. I'm going to go on to the lower portion. And once again, if you want more pressure, just stack your feet and go ahead and roll there. For myself, I'm going to honor my body. A lot of weight there. I prefer to roll along the side seams there on my IT band. So something is always new that I discover when I foam roll. And this is what you'll need to do as well too. And that will show a good understanding of what may be going on within your own system. But we want to honor the body. So make sure that you get both your right side and your left side as far as the T-band is concerned. And so we will continue on. And now that you know as far as body alignment and the positioning of your body weight, shifting that body weight, we're going to now move into the gluteals. And these gluteals are, you have your, the maximum gluteus and the medium and the minimum. And so what I try to find is the meatier part of my glutes, because there are the seat bones behind. But I'm just going to now, let me switch sides here, get the right cheek and just take the time to discover, as far as I'm not rolling on that seat bone there, but it's almost, and then not rolling on my hip bone, but all that tissue, that the adipose tissue that you'll be feeling through that glutes. This is one of my favorite ones to do. Also, I use the lacrosse ball. Because we may sit here an awful lot, the circulation we're building, the oxygen that's going into when we foam roll will nourish and also maintain that tissue to be healthy. So these are the gluteals. So you can feel as that pressure that goes right against the glutes when you are self-massaging there. And now take the time out to maybe shift the body weight and span that area, see if you can catch any knots there. And for those of you with sciatica, you can take that lacrosse ball as well too and just sit it right there on that glute, and that'll work as well too. I'll do that on the other side. Lacrosse balls are a little bit firmer than tennis balls. But just say that I had a trigger point in that glute, and I'll just sit on it. Every time I travel, if I'm in the car sitting for any length of time, I have one of these in my car. I travel with one in my suitcase and make sure, because if I have any tightness, I'll sit in the car on a 6-hour trip and I'll put it under my hamstring, and I could just foam roll while I'm sitting there. But the lacrosse ball is a great tool. So as you switch sides, and doing the glutes, and I'm at the corner getting the minimus and minimus on our glutes. You can feel that pressure being there. You may feel sensations to the lower spine, the sacrum as well too, as you're massaging here. And even the areas of the metaphysis, that's the lower back muscles. And then now that we've gotten those glutes, I'm just going to go ahead and sit on this for just a moment. And my seat bones are in front. So I'm just going to right now just massage, not on my seat bones, but just that little short area of the glutes. As we continue to foam roll, we're going to go ahead and stay on that lower body, and I want to massage the shins. I'm going to stay off my shin bones. It's the tissue adjacent to my shins, so it's the outside part of my calf muscles. So you're going to have to find that, and how you do, you can start out by rooting both hands here in front, but then just shifting the body, and you may just want to massage through the side, and all my movement is just moving up and down my knee. And then I'll go ahead and switch sides. And you could foam roll that area in comfort. But it's up to you to control the amount of weight that's on there. Trying to avoid, once again, the shin knee. So I'm going to travel. If you notice, majority of my body weight is on my hands, but my massaging, I travel all the way down to my ankle, all the way up toward the knee by just that motion. And just make sure you get both legs with the shin. And even for pressure points along here, and not even using the foam roller, but with our hands, here's our shin bones. And if we apply light pressure on each side of that, you'll find relief. And sometimes it just feels wonderful when we could take each side of the tissues that are near the shin bones and massage it. You get release as well too, and probably more on the outside. And as we continue on with those legs, this next area is our quadriceps. And we're going to find that the area of the quadriceps is going to be a little bit more sensitive maybe than some areas. The quadriceps are involved in a lot of the activities that we do, whether we're sitting and standing, getting ready to, do things, standing, in our jobs. And so we go into the position for foam rolling. What I want you to do, you could do one leg at a time or both at a time. I'm going to start out with both at a time and give you the option of placing the body weight upon your forearms. So my forearms will come down. And remember, we're avoiding the knee and we're avoiding the hip bone. And so I'm going to divide the thighs into two sections, and I'm just going to roll just before my knees. I just want you to take a minute here. Breathing. Take a little bit of weight off if you're feeling a little bit too much pressure, or do one leg at a time. Continue that breath. Go as close as you can, but avoid the knee cap. I'm going to start inching my way toward the center of my quads. And I'm exploring, I'm feeling for any type of knots. That sawing motion, the back and forth motion. I'm doing my best to try to focus and be present to see where I may have some knots. And one leg may feel different than the other. But I'm still going to try to iron out those particular trigger points. Just kind of sitting and waiting it out. And so your method as far as massage is completely up to you. If you like little strokes or you want longer strokes. But take the time out to do it in two zones first, and then you could make sure that you have touched all areas of that quad. And now I'm going to move a little further up, avoiding my hip bone. Staying relaxed, focusing on the breath. And so some of you may be feeling just perfect and comfortable onto the elbows. Let's say you wanted to put a little bit more weight upon those thighs. You can either extend the arms, or you can, I'm going to return because I'm being really careful with my lower back. I could just stack one leg on top of the other for more weight. And then foam roll. But since I've come down to my forearms, now I'm going to do the total distance from hip all the way down to almost the kneecap. Turn to those sensitive areas. Everyone's going to be different. Feel free to remain there if you'd like. I'm going to move into another area of the body. I'm going to get this area right by my hip bone. It's a very small area. It's near the hip flexor muscles. And they call this the tensor fascia lata. And I just want to maybe break down a little bit of that tissue because we're always bending over, we're always sitting, and it's just a wonderful feeling when you could just massage that area out. So it may be a peculiar way in which I'm going to approach getting to that area, and this is where you're going to have to be the judge of that. I'm just going to take the edge of my roller and just set it almost to that hip bone, and then I'm just going to saw back and forth. And it's that real small little corner. It's not on the hip bone, but just right below it. And my weight, I'm placing it more on my opposite leg. And continue to breathe there. Just stretching that near the hip flexor. And I'll go ahead and switch sides. Same thing, same area. And you see my weight is upon that opposite leg, and I'll come down onto my forearms. It's a small range of motion we want. And you have to dictate what feels good, how long and how deep. And then as we return. Now there are a lot of exercises that we can do. I'm not going to show you the inner thigh here because I'd like to move toward the upper back and neck area. But there are certain areas, even get the lats along the sides here if you want massage here, or even using the lacrosse ball against the wall to get some of the areas in the upper shoulders. The lacrosse ball works excellent. You can stand up against a door and feel the pressure there as you massage it. I release my iliopsoas, which are the deep, deep muscles, just laying on the ball or by the belly button. But we're going to continue on with the foam roller. And let's get the thoracic spine, which is the upper part of the back. We want to avoid anything with the lower back. Our kidneys are there, so we've got to be gentle there. And there are some alternative other ways in which we can stretch the lower back, and there are a lot of yoga postures that assist us. But we're going to do the thoracic spine, and so in order to get in position for the thoracic spine, I want to place it just below the neck and above the shoulder blades. My knees are going to stay bent, and then I'm just going to lift up. So you can either just take your hands and just cap them behind your head, and then lifting up your hips. And it's a small range of motion. The weight is upon the feet. And you once again are avoiding any bone structures. So it's the tissue that's just below the neck and above your shoulders. I just pause here for just a moment. And then if you remember the movements that I gave you for the body awareness activities, it's just not the sawing back and forth motion. Maybe it's going to feel good if you just move the arms open and close, or if you're moving up and down, because that tissue that's in that particular area will be felt. So those are different ways in which you can implement the fascia release. Just maintaining a stillness through the muscle pressure, but then moving another part of the body. Okay. So I'm going to lower my hips. I'm going to maintain myself here, but I'm just going to lay on this foam roller as if it were like a pillow. Okay. And all as I'm going to do, bending the knees and just remaining comfortable here, gently and very slowly, I just want you to just turn your head. Just turn it to the right and just pause there for a moment. And I want you to feel the small part of your back flatten against the mat as well too. And you may feel certain sensations through the back of the neck, but we're just slowly going to look over toward the left side as well too. And I want you to remain here for like the next 30 seconds and then continue to slowly move and switch sides. Just close your eyes for a moment and just move. And then return to center. Just inhaling and exhaling through the nose for this moment. And then slowly beginning to seat yourself on it. I'm going to now take the lacrosse ball, and maybe you have tightness in the upper part of the shoulder. You're going to take that lacrosse ball and just place it onto that spot. And you could just sit there, or you can shift back and forth and then maybe move your arm accordingly. And we can use this lacrosse ball or your tennis ball in other areas of the body as well. So I just have it stationary underneath my shoulder where I feel the sensitivity, and then I just move my arms. And then I'll go ahead and switch sides. So as we return to center, everyone, my favorite is the lacrosse ball underneath the feet. While I'm watching the news, just take it under there and roll it all around. And it'll be amazing to how you feel afterward. This is a form of self-myofascial release as well. And so keep in mind that we would probably never foam roll like we've had for the last 50 minutes. It would be specific as far as, muscle groups. And it doesn't hurt to get the main muscle groups, and primarily what I attack today, which are primarily the calves, the hamstrings, the IT band, the glutes, and the quadriceps, and then upper shoulders, or I should say the thoracic spine. And so at this point in time, we could have gotten some lats in there, and maybe you wanted to do more on a specific, on the arms or even on the forearms. But those are some of the minor muscle groups, and we could easily use a lacrosse ball on any part of the body as well too. So keep that in mind. These are all forms of myofascial release. So this will conclude the demonstration I've given to you as far as the major muscle groups that we've demonstrated today for you. And I'm hoping that you will give yourself the opportunity to discover things about yourself and how healthy this will change your range of motion, how healthy it will improve your flexibility and release that muscle tension. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, improve your water intake, the nutrients that go into your muscles. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat room, and I'll try to answer them for you before we end. Okay. I am avoiding the lumbar section because this area of the back has our kidneys behind it, and there are a lot of other exercises that we can do to massage the lower spine. When we massage the thoracic spine above, it will connect through the rhomboids and trapezoids that are there. So we attack that part of the back. And to strengthen or to loosen anything in the lower spine where we have the multifidus set of spindles there, we strengthen those particular muscles if there are any back muscles of concern through abdominal exercises and stretches there. But we always want to be careful when we do anything with that lumbar spine, just because of that. We have our ribs there and a lot of our organs that back up into the rib cage and on that back side. Okay, thank you for the questions. The question is, are different colors of foam rollers different hardness? I'm going to answer that question. No, it all depends on the manufacturer. Everybody has jumped on the bandwagon of trying to get into the market of selling foam rollers. So you're going to have to ask or even read the description on the package that says this is like medium density, this is soft density. So the colors will not mean as far as the hardness. All right, you're going to have to test it out and just see, is this firm enough or not firm enough? And you're good just going with a medium, and you can get the same results. So you say yours is white and it's from Kaiser and it feels really hard. So if yours is from Kaiser, that was the recommended from your physician that they gave to you, and maybe they have a different color scheme for what they would prefer that you use. But continue to honor your body, and as you use that autonomy of yours. If it's too much pressure and too hard, then you may want to loosen up by lifting up your hands from and allowing the pressure to move to that direction as opposed to right against your body. So this is one thing that you're going to have to be the judge of what feels most comfortable to you. And this is why foam rolling is self-myofascial release. It's release of tension. It's your own way of therapy, massage therapy. And so you have to be a judge. If it's too hard for you, you have to do either alleviate your pressure, you're holding up your body, or maybe get a lighter density. And then yours is 6 inches across and maybe larger than what I am using. And so this is 6 inches diameter as well too. And then it'll work for you, and it's work for majority of the people. And then the next question is, can percussion guns like the Theragun be used for myofascial release? And if yes, do you follow Theragun's instructions for use? So your physician is going to be giving you instructions to how much deep penetration that you want. Those Theraguns are excellent if you're wanting a quick fix to massage, because they could go deep down into the tissue. And you have to understand that you may go too deep into a tissue and you may be injuring yourself even more. And so the key is that if there are different modes of the Theragun that you're using into that, and it feels perfect pressure for you, then use that. But some of those Theraguns, they really go deep, down to the deep, and you don't want to tear. If you're trying to recover from a torn muscle, or if you've used your muscles a little bit to the extent where you do have pain, I would go lightly and just use your own judgment and go to that edge, that point of sensation where you say, that's enough, I need to do. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind, because Theraguns are trying to meet a broad spectrum of people to, get that massage done. But even though we are thinking that massage is good in many ways, but massage also can contraindicate a lot of other things that may be going on in your muscle. And I thank you for your question. Any other questions? If not, I thank ACC and all of you for being my audience this afternoon. And just keep in mind is that, this is just your own way to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I think what I'm going to recommend each of you, whether it be foam rolling, I want you to continue to exercise. And the key is that we are all striving to find balance in all that we do. And I want you to place yourself right in the middle. And that balance will come in whether, we're speaking of our families, our spiritual beliefs, our community activities, our schooling, and our work. The key is to balance out all those activities. And this is where you will find that you'll be a lot happier person, and we're not spending too much time over one thing and the other. And so I'll sign off right now if there's no other questions. And once again, I thank you for joining me. This was Myofascial Release and Self-Massage Part 2. Enjoy the rest of your day.